looks like a blowout, but remember, I've seen teams then swiftly follow this up with recalibration into a swift freeze. We saw this at the first finals, right? Remember, back then, K-Corp able to get a very, very big win in that game #1, and then Home Life tightened it up. Was able to pull the series back for G2. I do think we need to see that in this game #2. I think that the downside of being such a heavy favorite in the fan sentiment, many people, me included, we're expecting this to be a swift 3-0. If you go down 0-2, the amount of mental resilience needed is tenfold of what it would be if this turns out to be a 1-1. You know, you pull back and everything is fine.
Right. Let's go ahead and jump into our second draft here, as it's Jace, Misfortune, and Yasuo banned by G2. Here on blue side, they've elected to go swap sides this time around. On the other side, Twisted Fate, Azir, and Pantheon banned out by Furia. So one thing that's worth pointing out, Varus and Misfortune were both banned out by G2 in round 1 of the previous draft. This time around, since G2's on blue side and they have that first pick, they'll keep the Misfortune banned, but they'll take the Varus for themselves. Furia, in response, they're going to grab the Rise for one of their solo lanes. Can be a flex for either one. And Wukong in the jungle. This is a champion that immobile AD carries do not like to deal with.
No, I do love the Yasuo ban. That one should be a no-brainer, right? Given IU's performance of the champion, the Wukong also would have paired really well with that. I'm a little worried about the Maokai. I think that Maokai is a pick that still, especially as you get deeper into Fearless, does have a decent amount of power. I'm worried about it being picked up this early, because I do think that Wukong still will get a ton of room to play.
Okay.
And the Alistar comes through pretty early on here. We'll be able to secure that this time around. And the Poppy didn't have the impact that we were looking for, right? I think we only had a couple of ultimates, and they were mostly used just for CC, so you get the knockup, but you don't actually create a numbers advantage, and you do kind of need to find at least a couple of those to really make sure you get the value out of the pick.
And we do see the Ezreal locked in here for Furia. I like this pick a lot against Maokai because of the fact that if he uses Twisted Advance at the wrong moment, you can use Arcane Shift to take him into a very bad position.
Oh, yeah.
Turn his engage into your counter engage with just a single button press. As we're into the second half of the bans, Tristana banned out by Furia with the Karma removed by G2.
I was kind of thinking about that. Ezreal Karma, obviously a bot lane that goes way back. Alistar, his biggest weakness is his laning phase. Obviously his level 1 is often talked about, but I think outside of that, you're really not expecting too much out of him when it comes to just trying to leverage. So it does also mean that I think the Varus does lose some of what makes it so strong, right? If you pair it with Renata, the laning phase, the 2v2, is so oppressive. It's not quite going to be the case here, as the way does get taken off the board, something that outranges the Rise and is generally able to punish it quite well. As I like the Rumble ban, I do think Rumble, especially after the performance Gigo had, plus the fact that there's a Wukong in the game, definitely a good call.
Yeah, and also looking at how this one's going to go, I still need to see some more follow-up engage from the side of Furia. I like the Rel and Wukong together. I think that this is a great amount of engage for these fights, for Furia to still call their shots and make their plays where they want them, when they want them.
It always feels a little rough to pick Rel into Alistar, right? The reason why we saw Alistar really rise to prominence again is because he is really good into Rel. You get to counteract, interrupt a lot of that. There's also angles for you to get rid of the Wukong, keep your backline safe. As the checks does come out, Gragas is still open. There's an immobilated carry on the enemy team as the Corki comes through now. I think in theory the Corki makes sense, right? We've seen this pick be really good when he gets to actually have an oppressive laning phase, when he really gets to punish. But I do think the pick right now hasn't really been that convincing recently, as the Cassante comes through here for Gigo.
And there's also no major magic damage for the side of G2. There is splashes of magic damage. Maokai can often go for, like, you know, the red smite into Liandry's in the tank after that build for some magic damage. Varus does some magic, Jax does some magic, but there's no real big mage threat like in the presence of the Rise on Furia's comp. So this last pick, Cassante for Gigo, a character that loves to be able to just say, sure, I'll build a Jax show and then nothing but armor, is fantastic, I feel like.
And we did, of course, see a ton of Maokai back when I think he was both a little stronger and during the double AD carry meta, which this obviously kind of goes back towards. But let's be real, Flowers, game 1, the draft wasn't really the issue. Like, obviously, I think playing a dive comp like that into a Neela can always feel a little rough, but that's not really what the game boiled down to. It was just a level of cohesion that was shown by Fury that was miles ahead of what G2 were able to do. Were able to set up a ton of traps And this is going to have to be a very important game. If G2 want to regain control in this series, they need to catch this game, because if that man right there has anything to say about it, think hard. I mean, I don't have to tell you about this, Flowers.
No, I'm very, very American when it comes to the my love for the NA versus EU rivalry. But we do also have to look at the G2 bottom lane, I think, when you're talking about G2 needing to win this game. Because when we go back and look at the laning phase, or just like the very early mid-game of game number 1, it was Hans and Labrov who had that individual advantage in their own lane, right? It was like almost a 4-wave lead over IU. That's really impressive in terms of what they were able to build just in what was mostly isolated. So if they can manage to turn that into a win condition, that might be the key.
I'm also willing to bet that Broken Blade isn't going to get himself solo killed this time around. Did take a lot of risks in the last game, which introduced an additional level of volatility. But for me, the biggest contributor, again, and I'm going to keep going back to this, I need to see more cohesion, because it felt like no two members of G2 were ever on the same page. Because this wasn't just, you know, often we talk about like mid-jungle, jungle support, but I feel like all of the members just felt like they were on very different pages, and clearly not going to be able to get away with that.
Looks like we might have a bit of a delay on stage here for some kind of technical issue. Hopefully they'll be able to get that one resolved here as soon as possible, get us into the game. I also think talking about, you know, taking risks for Broken Blade there in the top lane, it's the nature of the champion. The only way Warwick is good is you have to play on the edge. You have to allow him to bait opponents in, use that low life bar to really give yourself an opportunity you wouldn't otherwise have. So now that you're playing Jax, it's a much more standard type of character, and you don't have to really skirt the edges as much.
You really don't. Jax will always get good value. It's just a very versatile character. Let's move on to team fights. Do you think that after all the changes that we've had to Cassante, he actually has a very solid matchup early on, right? I think Cassante, in mind of many, is still that tank that's okay in lane, but really is about afterwards. I do think you can get way more done. That is some wonderful cosplay there.
That's some powerful cosplay, ears and hair there. I like that. I respect that. But yeah, Cassante, I mean, I think for a lot of people, the number one thing that comes to mind when you think Cassante is still the showmaker pasta.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, this is a character that if he gets out of control is truly all out of control. And that's what we've seen Gigo do in game number 1. And we'll see if he can repeat that success here in game number 2. Let's check it out as we're on to the Rift now. Furia this time from the red side. G2 over on blue. Caps on the Corki, taking a look at Keystone, Summoner spells, all the normal stuff. It's Grasp for both of our top laners for the early trading power. Sometimes you'll see Jax go for something, you know, more like the Conqueror if he thinks that the laning phase is just going to be free. But again, going up against the Cassante, especially after game number 1, you want to make sure that you're having a solid laning phase. Jojo, once again, going to be running Summoner Spellbook here in the support role.
This time, we do see Hans going for the Comet, which I do think is very warranted. There's not a lot of auto-attacking that you will be able to get to do.
Not against Wukong Rel.
Yeah, or Ryze, or Cassante.
Pretty much any of these characters.
Yeah, I think trying to stay away is the right call. And it also makes sense given his lane partner. I think the lethality of Varus is just way more self-sufficient, right? He can just stay in lane, he can just wave clear. And there are lane partners where Varus can be a real bully. I think in this case, you just pick him to try, and he will still have a decent amount of laning power, but it's not really what it's about, as we do see. In they go again, but this time Hans will be fine. Bot laning is down, and I also taking a big hit there early on.
Yeah, both early piercing arrows, the one on the way to lane and the one as IU walks out of the brush, both connect, so
100% hit rate.
About an extra early health potion of damage there. Feels good for Hans Sama and Labrov.
Unfortunately, Alistar isn't the champion.
No, I mean, he interrupted the crash down there, so that's honestly about the best level 1 Alistar performance you can get.
Yeah, he doesn't really offer a lot, as we can see, which is why the level 2 was found there by IU and Jojo. Caps eventually Ryze, obviously, in any matchup reaches the point where he just gets to clear waves in seconds, but doesn't have his skills nor the AP available for now.
Yeah, as Furia gets the wave crashed up, down here in the bottom lane. It is interesting because there's some history between Furia coach ThinkCard and G2. The last time a team coached by him was against this organization was the fabled Energy versus G2 best of 3 from Worlds a couple years back, which was just a huge moment for NA fans everywhere. Now ThinkCard coaching a team in the LTA South, trying to do it again here, not just in a best of 3, but in a best of 5, that much harder. And we'll see if he can accomplish that same magic here with Furia. They've already got a great start towards it.
Yeah, that was with genius midfielder Palafox, right?
Yes, correct. His opponent sped him in a scrimmage. He's very powerful.
Thus far, though, again, my expectation for G2 is that they are going to really pull back on a lot of the risks that they took in game number 1, and instead are going to rely on their macro sense, their ability to pick fights later on in the game. And I do think that that should also mean that this early laning phase is not going to be nearly as interesting. Wukong just desperately wants to farm till 6, but because the wave bounce came through on bot, Labrov already gets to roam up. It looks like they're still going to go for the contest there, and Jojo and Ayu get a good amount of damage down. As, Gigo!
Oh, if he would have hit that third in Tofo strike with that shockwave, could have been a bit of a problem there for Broken Blade. Okay, nothing too crazy then. Let's take a look at where our junglers are. As you can see, Tatu invading enemy jungle here on the potential opportunity for a chance to go after Caps, but
yeah,
Caps
I mean,
playing towards the other side.
As, Skewmon.
Oh, Skewmon might just be able to turn this one around. Gigo in some trouble. This time around, top lane's not looking the same as game 1, and it's first blood over the Broken Blade.
Good bait set up by Broken Blade there. Able to flash away out of the W. Still gets his stun off on the back end as well. And then Skewmon shows up just in time. And meanwhile, not a fan of this mid lane gank. Tatu, you are a pre-6 Wukong. You just unfortunately don't do that much. A Corki, one of the reasons why he can't play so aggressive is because of the build-in safety that he has with Valkyrie. Caps didn't even need to flash. Hans and Labrov did use their sum, so I imagine we missed a scuffle in the bot lane. Yeah, so, yeah, that's how we got to play Corki. Just got to jump right on top of him. But no cleanse, no heal does mean that at level 6 we could possibly see some volatility introduced if Tatu can get towards the bot side of the map.
Yeah, the difference in this game in game number 1 is, yes, we still have the first blood happening up there in the top side, but remember that in game number 1, G2 got a kill back immediately in bottom lane right after. This time around, there was no such counterplay again, like you're saying, because the gank wasn't towards bottom. It's not like they were able to find anything effective in mid, so Furia now finds themselves slightly behind. Gigo, obviously not hurting a whole lot. You can still see he has a massive farm advantage, but a big part of that is the large wave about to crash into the turret of Broken Blade, so not hurting as much as could otherwise be from that death up there in the top side. Skewmon's Maokai off to a good start here. You can see does have the red smite, does have the faded ashes in inventory, so we will get the Leandri's Maokai build for the extra splash of AP damage for this AD heavy team. As Broken Blade jumps in for a fast trade there. Counter-strike for the stun. Gigo buffers through it there with the Pathmaker, but Broken Blade hitting level 6 just in time. Forces Gigo back. BB doesn't get as much damage out of that ult as he would have liked to, I think. And Gigo now with a mana advantage, hits level 6 in a decently soon time frame himself, should get it after a couple more minions.
Still no ultimate available here for Tatu. It's close, but this is 3 people in the lane. Skewmon's also there.
Yeah, this is going to be a 3v3, and immediately Labrov gets targeted. Exhaust down to Hans Sama as Skewmon finds the counter engage onto Tatu, who has to flash out of the Wukong. Skewmon getting the better of Tatu in the jungle matchup this game.
No one ends up dying, but it's still, I think G2 pretty happy with that. And it's again, these ganks that come through is, there it is, there's no ult for Broken Blade.
Yeah, Gigo's going all out. Pathmaker to try to buffer through the counter-strike. Broken Blade getting away. Gigo tries to flash forward for the Intofo strike. Toots is coming up to try to cut off Broken Blade's escape route. Realm Warp gets him in range. Toots is there. He binds him up in the Rune Prison. The last auto attack gets it done. And Toots evens up the score.
See if the cancel can be found on this Cassante. Not going to be the case. No punish available. As I imagine, Toots just going to run towards top, catch that wave, swap for now. In this game, still a precarious balance as maybe we get another one of those feats fight, right? Last time
I
went all the way to the final
for
one.
The boots. It's one of my favorite things because everybody really wants the shoes, especially with the buffs.
Like 3 minions lost there.
Yeah.
Although Varus obviously does have a good amount of range, so see how much Hans is able to pick up. It's not too bad.
Yeah, okay. So only like 2 minions. It's fine. IU and JoJo rotated over to the mid lane now as Labrov is just going to be the support for his other AD carry for the time being. Both of our top laners now set up in that bottom side of the map. You can see Caps currently leading in terms of XP globally among everybody here, but it is both mid laners significantly far out ahead of everyone else as Tatu finally level 6 now on the Wukong. We'll see how much of a difference that makes, how much more he can get done, as now once more, it's Broken Blade going in trying to use the ulti, but Gigo doing a good job getting himself away from it, outplaying the opportunity from Broken Blade there, and Broken Blade just using this ulti on cooldown, trying to trade with his opponent.
Yeah, and that first ulti towards top side, right? I think that was an attempt at trying to force a flash out of, because I don't think there was really a kill opportunity there. There is on the cross map though, good amount of pressure, but oh, Tatu, instead of going for Dragon, it looks like he's trying to go for the counter punch. There is, I think, a counter-strike available, so we'll see if BB can outplay this.
Yeah, this is pretty dangerous. Jack's very effective at defending against these types of situations. Gigo is about to die to the turret, he barely gets away. Tatu needs a little bit more distance to close into Broken Blade, and he finds it finally there with that last Q. So Furia gets their man, Gigo barely survives. That's a 2-1 game now for the side of Furia, but it does come at the cost of G2 Esports claiming all 3 grubs on the other side of the map. Now Skewmond firing off the ulti, wants to catch Gigo with it, Pathmaker to try to buffer through the CC. Kasante's tanky, but he's only got 50 health, and Skewmon brings him down to tie this game up at 2-2.
Feels like Gigo could have maybe left after they got the kill.
Yeah, perhaps, maybe. Just a little.
They did get the, obviously they knew that the grubs were being taken, so maybe underestimating the speed with which Skewmon could get towards the bot side. We also saw what was maybe a little bit, I thought that they maybe were going to look for a topside play the moment they saw Skewmon in bot, but doesn't look like there really was a window. And G2, gold lead remains basically non-existent here for either team. Dragon is advantage for Furia, but G2 is sitting on the free grubs that obviously they picked up.
Tatu getting my favorite experience as a jungler. Your laner is just not quite in range there to catch the waves, so unfortunately you have to do the job yourself. A little bit of extra econ.
Especially as Wukong.
Oh yeah.
The kill going to Wukong I think is also actually a big deal. We see that still Gigo is in a great position when it comes to gold advantage, thanks to the CSing and the plates. So he did get the plate, so I guess that maybe he would call worth on that one, as the Dragon is going to come over here.
Is plus 125 gold on your Kasante worth more than plus 300 on the enemy Maokai?
Yeah, I'd say so.
That's the question, right?
Yeah, no, I really think so, especially given the fact that Hans, who, even if he does go for an on-hit build, I don't think it's going to have the best of time into Kasante, but it does obviously mean that until you reach really late game, I do think that ever since the change they did to Lethality Varus, once you reach like 4 or 5 items, you do actually have a deceptive amount, even against tanks, but it is a lot of Qs, right? And you still need to also make sure that in that time you don't get engaged on, and then we look at the enemy team and there's Wukong, there's Rel, and there's Rai. So I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, we've got the first 2 fully completed items for both sides coming online now. As you can see, the Rod of Ages has been completed for Tutz's Rai. He's going to start stacking that one now, so it'll be done right around the 21-minute mark there with those stacks. Meanwhile, on the other side, it's Skewmon, who's been a part of both kills so far. It's Skewmon who's getting his first item fully completed with that Liandry's. Now I'm expecting him to go more towards tank. Just rely on everybody else on the team. I think between Corki, Varus, and Jax, you have plenty of damage.
This is also, right there, is one of the big advantages that Varus has, right? Particularly with lethality. You can always play pretty far up, because they need to respect, because you are still strong in the all-in. And they don't really know where the members are as a flank on JoJo here. He's in deep trouble.
Yeah, JoJo's about to have a bad time. He tries to flash away, so at least Labrov can't knock him the other direction. But meanwhile, the Bramble Smash from Skewmon's going to do the same job anyway. Feat of Warfare claimed for the 2nd game in a row by G2. In both games, it was a 3-2 count on the kills. And now IU is stranded in a 1 versus 3. You're against an Alistar that's got an ultimate. This tower dive from G2 could be deadly, but IU survives as Gigo comes in with a TP to threaten the counterattack if G2 overstays, but that just opens the door wide here in the bottom lane for Broken Blade to catch up in gold through some plates.
Yeah, big win there for G2, even though you can't kill the Ezreal. The fact that Broken Blade with the Demolish gets to just spend some time alone in that lane due to the roam from the Rise. It's not like he is going to be able to get much more than that. Does need to respect, as we do see 2 level lead, by the way. And that's with Rod of Ages not not even close to fully stacked.
Right. That's scary stuff, man.
Oh, the Wukong looking for Caps here.
Caps needs to have his spidey senses tingle a little bit.
Does
make
have
sure that
flash.
he's detecting this, especially if Tatu can time the Cyclone correctly to interrupt the Valk as Caps tries to get away. It could be absolute disaster for the G2 mid laner here, but it looks like Caps wise to what might be going on, stepping away for now. Gigo stepping forward, going for the third in Tofo strike, not gonna hit that one. Caps tries to Valk out, but now immediately with a Pathmaker, Gigo going in while Toots is in a 1v2 down to the bottom lane at the same time. Caps is gonna be killed off first. Now, Toots, flash over the wall, Broken Blade ready to follow, finds the stun, but he's Rune Prism
Phase
up.
rush.
Toots makes it back over towards the turret. Phase rush ain't gonna work. Broken Blade with the flash at the last second to guarantee that he hits him with the empowered bonk and takes him out. A 1-for-1 across the rift.
Big cross map there. Looks like G2 this time not going to go for the Battle of the Boots, just going to claim them straight up towards this bot side of the map. And G2 says, okay, Broken Blade, we get it. They're paying a lot of attention. We're going to give you some love.
Yeah.
As the play towards the bot side, it does end up working out. Yes, Caps does go down, also uses flash, but he trades for 2 flashes. And because of the cross map, I don't think he's going to be too sad about the whole situation.
And I'm liking what we're seeing from G2 more this game, not just in the game itself, but in the draft. They're a team that has been known historically for their creativity. They're also a team that can overcook it a little bit sometimes. Maybe leave the draft in the oven a little bit too long. Last time around, we saw them use the Warwick as the counter pick into the Aatrox. It doesn't pay off. This time around, you've got Broken Blade on a champion that you know he can pilot very well in the Jax, but it's also not something that's way far out of the meta like that Warwick. And since they're playing around it too, I feel like they are setting him up so much better. Still got to give credit to Gigo, though, despite the fact that he's 0 kills to Broken Blades 2, he's still got a significant gold lead because of the massive farm lead.
As now, towards the bot side of the map, that top lane you were talking about, even with the kills, even with the first turret bot, as you highlighted, Broken Blade still fine as the TP comes through. There's a lot of people here, though.
Yeah, remember, Labrov with the Alistar ultimate. This is a powerful turret dive, but not when you go in that early. Labrov just barely gets away. It's all calculated by G2 with a full 5-man stand. Jojo steps away from the chains of corruption, right back in to Broken Blade's waiting arms. And G2 is not making the mistakes from game 1 again.
It was a bit quizzical when Labrov just went in when the wave was about to crash, but the timing ends up working out. There is enough support from the rest of the team. The damage comes through, and Gigo didn't have TP, so there's no way for him to join. We had the full 5-man rotation, because Hans also, I think, just walked from mid lane towards the top end of the map. And if this Aner falls as well, even if he ends up dying, which I don't think is a given, Jack's obviously quite slippery.
Yeah.
Wukong, they'll be able to get him. It'll take a while, but that doesn't matter. I think that the trade is 100% worth it, although the Dragon will most likely go over to Furia.
Yeah, it was a lot of money from a tier 2 turret. You are going to get a good amount from the shutdown as well. You will get it onto the Rise.
Oh, never mind. Okay, if you get Dragon as well, it's like... Because the shutdown, that's a bit rough, but if you don't lose Dragon, it doesn't really matter. Yeah,
Hafen does have both Rise and the Rel, who's now low enough HP that he has to reset. Means that G2 has control over this bottom side river, has control over the Drake. Once again, Chronicler, we are at a 1-to-1 Drake state. Nobody's working on that early Drake win condition here, and it looks like G2 still going to be comfortable enjoying their lead with a 1,000 gold.
Rise no ult, no flash. Rise no ult, no flash.
I'm gonna ult again.
Look on right, look on right.
That's 3.
Let's go right. Volti on
That's
anyone.
3, guys. That's gonna dip. Okay, go on rise, go on rise. Good job, good job. Yeah.
No flash.
Look at him.
Nice.
As you see there, G2 really doing what I think we were all expecting after game 1, pulling it back, only going for plays when the whole team is there, the whole team is ready, and the coordination compared to game number 1 is night and day. Now, I do want to be clear, it's not like first composition doesn't scale well. They still have, particularly the Wukong and Rise in mid to late game team fights are absolute menaces. So we still need to see G2 actually close out on this. The team fight's going to be very interesting because I still think Hans is going to have a tough time. That objective just gone though, and they're just kind of looking at it happen. I don't think they can really catch anyone out here, and G2 going to be very happy with that.
Yeah, G2 Rift Herald for free. You could see that Tatu wanted to contest, but it's one of the strengths of Alistar because you have the powerful displacement through the headbutt. Even if he wants to walk up, it's not going to happen.
Both the Alistar and the Maokai, right? The guaranteed point and click CC, the ultimate as well. As it looks like we're also seeing the full commit to AP. I was kind of expecting the Leandries into then just going tank.
Me as well.
But looks like that is not going to be the case. As the crowd, given game one, I think warranted trying to support the team here.
Yeah, getting fired up for it. Not sure exactly what the reason for the pause is. We'll let you know if we have any more information. But hopefully it's one of those ones that's fast enough. We just get back into the game before we even know. I am really excited to see where the rest of this mid-game starts going. G2 are controlling the objectives more overall. The Drakes, of course, even split 1-1. But all 3 grubs for G2. They've got the Herald for the side of G2. They got the first turret on their side as well, securing themselves the empowered boots, like you were also mentioning earlier. They've got a lot in their pocket, but I need to see it still come together in the mid game. I need to see the coordination.
For me, the biggest difference, as you highlight, obviously the coordination for the team as a whole is better, but what's really important with any Maokai composition, and particularly into the amount of hard engage that the enemy team has, is if you are first to an objective, approaching is such a nightmare for the entirety of Fury, because there is, especially now that they're beefed up by a ton of AP, the saplings, there's just the fact that you have the ultimate, there's the Alistar, and outside of the Varus, basically every other single target that you can try and get a pick on is not really going to work. You have the Jax who can still Counter-Strike. I imagine BB is also going to go towards like a third item Zhonya's as well to make even the late game that a problem. Then we have the Alistar, who self-explanatory just can't really go on to. And then the Corki has, even with his short range, a lot of safety with the Valkyrie. So, does make it hard. The Varus though, yeah, Hans, just make sure you're looking from a distance.
Yeah.
And, let the rest of your team stand in front. Because if you just get to use the fact that right now your lanes are looking good, and there's not really an opportunity thus far for Fury to get to those objectives first. Like, this is a really good example, because what you'd really want to do had you had full control as Fury was just go for the cross map, right? Like, try and push in. But Cassante alone in the side lane doesn't hit the same as a Jax would.
Exactly. Update on our pause. We do have a peripheral issue. Looks like Lebrov is having some problems with his mouse. So we're going to see if we can get that swapped out, fixed, taken care of in whatever way is most effective so we can get back into the game ASAP. But until then, I have been very interested so far in this game, just how much more G2 is playing around Broken Blade. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but if you remember back in game number 1, even after we saw that first solo death from Broken Blade on one of these iconic like Broken Blade champions, we looked at the player cam, you could see the frustration on his face, right? It's like, I messed up, I shouldn't have taken that fight, he got me. And now seeing the rest of the team play around him more, try to set him up more for success, prevent that, and help him kind of find that mental rebound, I love to see that.
It also, in that specific matchup, like if an Aatrox gets ahead and you're a jungler, you're like, I'm sorry, man, I don't want to get in that lane.
What do I do to this guy?
Well, if this backfires, we just both die. Particularly when it's a champion like Warwick, right? If that would have been something like a Cassante, I think you have a lot more confidence going in because you have so much more time, you have a lot of CC. But with Warwick, it is kind of fall behind and you are somewhat doomed. So this time around, G2 really pivot, pay way more attention towards Broken Blade, and that's for me the biggest difference. Every play looks like the players are clearly communicating, everyone's on the same page, right? The top play looked a little dicey, but because of the response from the rest of the team, the damage does come through. Lebrov is able to get out without too much of a hassle, as hopefully we can get back into game soon, because the series really still in an interesting place, because as mentioned, I do think G2, in the position that they're in now, getting Prio is really easy because they have, right, the Jax, who obviously is a split person managed. You have the Corki and Varus, both of which have great wave clear. So we'll see if Fury is somehow able to regain control in this game. And I think it's going to have to be engages, right? The Rel, as well as the Wukong, the ability to just get on top of the enemy backline is definitely very, very big.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why the early game has felt a little bit more difficult for Furia this time around. You talked a lot about how Wukong wants to be this level 6 power farmer.
Yeah.
Tatu went for a potential play mid lane.
It was 2 ganks, right?
Yeah,
The bot one as well.
And they fizzled out. They didn't work. Yeah, the bot lane gank that ended up actually just being counter ganked immediately by Skewmond. It ends up costing Tatu his flash. So we get to see 2 failed ganks, one of which costs a flash before the level 6 is even active, which then slows down the Wukong, so we don't have those big, powerful skirmishes and team fights. And I think that you're exactly right. If we see one of those types of moments where Ryze and Wukong both get to play their game, then all of a sudden it's a lot more difficult for G2 to play it outright.
As the players you can see, just trying to maintain focus.
It's tough, man. During these long pauses, it completely takes you out.
To be real, it's hard for me.
Yeah,
you know,
we're commentators, and it's like, I want to get back into the game.
Oh no, I was talking because in the LCK we love just yapping about anything. I'm shocked that we've been able to stay on topic for basically the entirety of this series.
We're
right,
locked in, man. It's the first game of MSI. We gotta lock in.
I know. I need gameplay.
We're in, but we're not actually in. Sorry, I was speaking hyperbolically.
Figuratively.
Figuratively. That's
Mentally,
that's
we're
not actually back in the game. Sorry for anybody who was just watching on a second monitor and you had the audio up. We're not actually in. The game is still paused. The mouse is still being fixed. But it looks like our ref is swapping out some cables, plugging in something new. Okay,
Feeling good about
just
this
got an
plugin.
update. It's only going to be like another minute or so, hopefully. So we should be able to. Ideally, okay.
Otherwise, at what point do we start talking about what your favorite thing in Vancouver has been so far? Give it 3 more minutes.
There was a really good shawarma truck. It was really tasty.
My guy.
Why?
I'm sure it was good.
You
but
posed the
I thought you were
question.
going to pander. You know, I'm like, oh, the most Canadian thing ever. I had poutine. It was no.
I mean, it was a Canadian shawarma truck.
I don't want you to lie. It was good.
Yeah, it was really tasty. Very highly rated. 4.9 stars. 4.9. Yeah. Every other thing that I saw, second highest rated thing I saw anywhere else is a 4.7. This was a 4.9.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
What about you? What's been your favorite thing so far?
That's hard. I haven't fully been here because obviously I flew in from Korea.
Right.
And I'm only 70% sure that everything I've experienced actually happened and wasn't just me being asleep.
The jet lag delirium. Oh yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It's great. I had the same thing back at first stand. It's like the same thing.
It's bad.
Yeah.
Oh, it's real bad.
Yeah.
Well, you also have the added issue of, you can't really eat anything. I at least can eat most stuff here in Canada.
It's fine. It's okay. You make it work. You make it work. But
we've passed the 1 minute, right?
We're seeing it's like the mouse configuration program thing.
Are we gaming?
Well,
we're not gaming yet.
We might
know
be.
that.
Yep. Sorry again if you got us up on a secondary tab or something. We are not yet quite gaming, but we're getting back close to it. Shout out Benny88999. Thanks for subscribing, bro. During the pause as well. Good job, Benny.
That's commitment.
Yeah. Benny's in there.
I appreciate that.
Okay, Broken Blade, just checking. Hey, man, what's going on with the mouse? Gonna play? Gonna get back into the game soon? It's like when you're playing flex queue with your friends and somebody says, hey, I'll be right back, give me a couple of minutes, and it's 15 minutes later and you have to go typing in the Discord. Where are you at?
How often has that happened to you, Flowers?
Oh, plenty of times. Plenty of times.
You want to call anyone out?
That
was the moment.
Raz is one of them. Let's actually call Raz out right now. Analysts, I've just been informed by producers. We're going to toss things back to you guys for the time being while the mouse continues to be fixed. What are your thoughts?
Brother saying?
Raz, they're throwing you under the bus.
I didn't even know what he was saying, but it must have been a lie.
Well, he was basically, I think, I love how all of G2 just whip their heads and they're just like looking at the ref,
okay?
Like, when are we getting back in game?
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's the kind of stuff that's going to
And then
take you
Flowers
out of the
called
game.
you out as the problem.
Oh.
Wait,
you're admitting to it.
Well, look,
are you the
not
person
problem.
to blame for like any
Yeah,
personal related
are
issues
we
in the
like
LTA?
looking
Because
at you and
there's
just
always
being
a
like,
culprit.
Raz?
It's not my
When are
fault.
we getting? It's
never
not
my
your fault.
fault.
It sounds like it's your fault.
No matter how many times people would like to say that it is my fault, my lawyer has told me that to say yes.
It sounds like it's your fault.
Yes, I will say, to add on to delirium of we're hearing from Chronicler.
Right.
We were having chicken earlier. I guess we were at a sushi restaurant, and the man just dropped
Are we
the chicken
just talking about food? We're
He
not
just-
going to talk about food
he
actually
dropped it on
because
the ground.
the game
Yeah.
is ready
We're back in
now.
game.
Back
He's a
to you
slob.
guys.
You're a
Woohoo!
slob, Chronicler.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Summoner's Rift here for MSI 2025. The peripheral issues are solved. The mouse is reconnected. We are back into the game. It is 6-4 in kills in favor of G2. It is not even a 1,000 gold lead, though, and the Dragons are split 1-1. G2, however, has controlled those topside Baron Pit early objectives with the Grubs and the Herald, and we want to see if they can continue this control of the game now as we're just about to crest 18 minutes on the clock.
Viewers everywhere saved from food talk, and Rez trying to blame other people for his shortcomings.
Yes, which somehow come together in the same topic.
I don't know if that happened. As the setup, as mentioned, for Furia, I think is going to be mostly centered around can we actually find a good engage angle? Because in a lot of these fights, I do expect G2 to be able to kind of peel back as Labrov going on a deep flank. This is a Cassante, though, so you need to be careful about your angles.
Okay.
We also see Skewmont in the area.
Yeah, Skewmont and Labrov hanging around. Gigo is going to immediately do a little footwork into the Tri-Brush. Pathmaker right back out. Jojo coming in to reinforce if he needs to. One big thing I want to point out, Toots just completed his Archangel Staff.
Yeah.
He is 5 spell charges away from turning it into Seraph's Embrace. His Rod of Ages is also at 8 out of 10 stacks. So here in 2 minutes, Toots is just going to have a massive power spike with that Rod of Ages alongside the Seraphs. Ryze will be very powerful. And again, I have to give credit to Hans. We're always seeing these piercing arrows find Ayu as Jojo wanted to make the engage. Toots immediately realm warps into his own demise. He's got to be careful about this one as Tatu's not going to be taken very low. Toots trying to provide a little bit more damage with a broken blade as Tatu is in full retreat. Toots wanted to deliver his jungler into the enemy lines, but as Tatu is caught out of position, he is forced to retreat.
Ooh, I think Furia should be happy that that didn't end up going worse. That was a very scattered engage because Hans was able to flash. Jojo didn't quite catch him off guard. Now the flash being down for Hans, that's a big win. That's something. But because of how much else was invested there, at least for now, Furia is going to have to back off. They didn't have to use Tatu's flash, which is kind of crazy. Thought that that was going to be used. As we're taking a look here, so Hans very ready. Jojo doesn't quite find the combo in him. You can obviously go for like the Q first and then go for the follow-up. Didn't get that. And then Tatu able, thanks to the root there from Tuts, to stay alive despite everything. And G2 not able to find a counter kill, but I don't really think that they need to. Again, as long as they get to go for these counter engages, they're going to be happy.
Yeah, they might still find their counter kill here as Jojo's already down to half HP. That rail is not long for this world. Broken Blade's already got him. Tatu's dead next. And now with Gigo teleporting into 5 players in G2 jerseys, Gigo is going straight into the ground. G2 just crushed Furia.
In the previous blade, Furia was able to slip away. This time around, not so much. G2 found the front line, not ready for this many people to be there, and able to both get the kills, get the Otacon as well. And on the counter punch, it's Wolves.
Yeah, Wolves for Otacon,
not good.
Not the ideal handshake coming out from Furia,
and 2
honestly.
kills for G2.
Yeah, this is looking really, really good for G2 at this point. They've got a 3,000 gold lead. They're 23-12 in terms of the flower petals throughout the map. They've got themselves just an absolutely commanding position in this game.
I think there, Labrov found Tuts because he used his flash as well as Realm Warp. As did Labrov, so I imagine that happened off screen while they were setting up for Dragon. That should mean that this next Hextech Drake is basically guaranteed to go to Furia as... Ooh, Broken Blade?
Yeah, Broken Blade getting a little bit of damage onto Ayu there, forcing him to Essence shift back over to safety, as G2 just has total control still over this bottom side river, over this Drake pit. Easy enough for AP Maokai to just burst this thing down fast enough. Not insanely quick, but still not like there's any contest when G2 is finding opportunities like this.
And the big thing is that Rel, so much of her tankiness comes from the ability to CC other people. So if you're just caught, there's not really that much you can do. This TP obviously feels really bad. Understandable in the moment, but given that both of your frontliners just die in seconds, it just is a TP to the death. And I think you can see as well from the G2 coach's response, they know, right? That was a really big moment. You get the kill, you get the Otacon. The game isn't in the bag quite yet, but it is looking a lot better, right? Otacon is there, you're sitting at 2-1 Drakes, you have map control, And there is so much counter engage available on G2. And if you are aware of where everyone on Furia is, it's really hard for them. Again, we keep going back to this. There are not a lot of good targets on G2.
There's Han Sama. That's about it.
Yeah, well,
So-
I mean, if Cap's like in that position, obviously, then maybe. But even then, like the Maokai, the Counter-Strike, the Alistair,
Yeah.
the Locket available as well, just makes it so hard to actually get back in the game. And it wouldn't be surprised if G2 also are in comms just going, guys, just keep playing this slow. Like, this game could go on for another 20 minutes like this, and
That's
fine.
fine.
Yeah, it's not a
There's
problem. As
no
long as we
reason
keep
not
stacking
to.
the objectives.
It goes back to what you were talking about at the beginning of the game, right? Like when you're coming into this series, such heavy favorites, and game one is as one-sided as it was, you need a good bounce back game to make sure that you don't start slipping further and further and further away from a solid mental state. And G2 seem to be bouncing back excellently in this second one.
Really, all you need to avoid with Otacon taken especially, that's one of the big breakpoints that we often see for teams, where they overestimate how quickly they can do it, they end up getting caught. It's really just avoid a Baron flip, and anytime soon there shouldn't really be a big opportunity for Furia to regain some control of this game. We see as well, when it comes to the sideways, continuously very far pushed up in favor of G2. Look at Caps towards the top side of the map, has the 2-item spike now hit. Now Tuts is close to 16, did get his Roa fully stacked as well, but just the Rise, I don't know if that's going to be enough. And the fact that they don't have the damage from IU is a big deal. He's very far behind.
Yeah, 1.2 thousand gold lead individually for Hans over IU, the largest individual gold lead in the game. And again, another piercing arrow, another hit. Every time we are seeing Hans fire these, he's hitting targets. He's making it that much harder for Furia to try to full send these engages. We've seen how squishy these guys are when they go in and they don't find their CC, they don't find that perfect engage. And Hans is a big reason why everybody's melting as fast as they are. Furia, it feels like every time we're looking at their players, they're just grabbing a camp here or there. They're trying to scrounge up whatever scraps are left, and G2 is just choking them out of Summoner's Rift. Look at the state of the vision across the map right now.
Yeah.
There are virtually no Furia wards anywhere, while G2 is lighting up the enemy jungle like a Christmas tree. They're making sure this whole thing is bright and easy to see any movements that Furia might try to make.
And that's G2 now, it's very straightforward. Just keep starting Baron, and every time they come out, poke them off. The only thing you want to avoid at all costs is an actual flip. It's really hard to reliably deny access to Tatu, although if you just put him to like half health this early on,
that'll work. I mean, Jojo goes in, but where's the follow-up? True Shot Barrage doesn't hit. Hans gets found. Gigo's gonna die at the same time. Jojo engages on the enemy AD carry, but there's nobody else next to him. And Furia is just all out of sorts here in this second game. G2 perfectly confident to stay in the position they're in, to continue forcing Furia back out of the jungle. And now, with the enemy top laner down, with that Cassante frontline no longer a threat, now G2 start up the Baron and dare Furia to stop them.
Oh, that's a creative angle that we see here from Tatu on the Wukong. It does get spotted though. I don't think he's going to be an opportunity to actually get a steal here. Going all the way around is, oh, Jojo.
Yeah, Jojo is out of there.
They know, yeah, you see the pings coming down. Like, they are aware that he's behind them. He was spotted earlier on.
IU gets out, Toots gets out, but getting out is all they're going to get because the rest of G2, they've just got control over the Baron Pit. Tatu trying to be a man on a mission, but the only mission now is survive. Tatu will have to use his Cyclone to disengage. Broken Blade keeps on the chase. He's just going to force Tatu back, and Baron goes over to G2 26 minutes in.
And this perfectly sets up for in 15 seconds that Hextech Soul Point imminent for G2. And Furia just don't get an opportunity to play the game, right? They're just getting very slowly choked out. And against, again, Maokai to me is one of the worst champions when it comes to falling behind, because it's already hard to regain any semblance of control against a team like G2 as IU.
Oh boy. Yeah, that Maokai ulti's not going to give him anywhere to go. Trying to pop the cleanse to get out of it. But Broken Blade is powerful on the Jax in this second game. And Hans Sama's chains barely miss on Jojo, but LeBron ready to follow it up here with the pulverize into the headbutt. That's 2 for G2, and now it might just be something back for Furia. Gigo wants Caps, but he has to trade his life to find it. 3 for 1 across the rift, as now it's only Toots and Tatu to try to defend, but they're nowhere near the lane being pushed, Chronicler. The tier 3 turret in bottom is already fallen. The inhibitor is the next target. It's 2 Baroned up cannon minions. It's the Rift Herald power, excuse me, the Void Grub power, making sure that these structures fall that much faster as Tatu and Toots. The best thing they can do is make sure they only lose 1 inhibitor instead of 2.
Yeah, it's looking like Elder Flip or bust. That's,
I don't think we're getting there, my
I
friend.
don't think we're getting there, no. Because obviously there's going to be soul point now here for G2. Hextech Soul is also one of the souls where becoming, or trying to play the game, truly becomes a nightmare, particularly with the amount of poke that's available. Like every single sapling, every single Corki rocket, and every Varus arrow will slow and damage the entire team.
Yeah.
It's a bad time, Cap. It's not good.
Yeah. Furia had a great game 1, and G2 are bouncing back now with a great game number 2. They've controlled pretty much everything, starting off with Scumon's gank in the top lane for the first blood, then the counter gank in bottom to stop any chance of Tatu turning things around there. Toots just having to use the Realm Warp to try to get away to safety, as now Scumon's ready to follow it yet again. Here comes the Nature's Grasp, immediately ready to lock up JoJo. The Rel once again beaten down before any effect can truly happen as Scumon tries to get away. G2 backing out, waiting for their cooldowns as Furia continues to look for something, but Labrov is creating space. Hans backing back up again as IU gets the shutdown into Labrov, but Gigo is not strong enough to truly threaten the back line. G2 have lost their support, but they take out the enemy top and support at the same time. Toots wants caps. He doesn't find him yet. Toots stuck inside the hourglass, and his time's run out. Tatu trading with Scumon as the AP Maokai finally falls there to the Wukong, but it does not matter. Toots was the only one left standing on Furia. Oh boy, I don't think he's going to keep standing for much longer either. Broken Blade stopping him from getting away with a Hex Gate, and Broken Blade gets the last kill for the delayed ace as JoJo is so far behind in levels, he has already respawned from earlier.
Got a bit messy there towards the top end. I think they didn't want to invest Broken Blade's TP because they could have obviously just TP'd him over earlier. And that's the power of investment right there. The amount of money item finishes for G2 means that even though this is a little disjointed and they're down a member for a decent amount of display, it just doesn't really matter, right? They're able to take down JoJo very, very quickly. And then here it looks like maybe a turn is imminent, but actually taking down a Maokai is so hard, especially with the phase rush. Very, very slippery. And then we see that really, if Gigo had stuck with the rest of the team or find a slightly different angle, maybe there was a bit more of an opportunity, but all of this is effectively 4 versus 5.
Yeah.
Because Broken Blade isn't there. The vibes, fortunately though, for Furia, clearly not bothered by any of this.
Yeah, they seem to be having a good time. They don't seem particularly distraught, tilted, frustrated, whatever you'd want to call it. But G2 are having a better time, I would have to bet, because they have control over the game. They are 7,000 gold ahead. They are on Soul Point with 2 minutes left on that Hex Tech Dragon Soul. If they want to wait that long to take it, there's also even less than that, just about 1.5 minutes until the Baron spawns. G2 with total control over the Rift, they are now looking like the team that I think everybody would hope that they would show up as, this international competitor that has been to so many events before, now in the play-ins, now up against Furia, losing the first game. Game number 2, returning back to more of an acceptable showing, I think, in the hearts of a lot of EU fans.
Oh, Tatu needs to be careful. Gonna be hit there by that sapling.
Uh-oh, Tatu. He's trying to run. He's already used the clone. He's going to walk into the Realm Warp.
Nice.
The Toots called him the cab. Had to make sure that they got out of there.
Isn't he the cab driver?
Well,
Toots the cab driver.
yeah, Toots.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Toots called the cab and then drove it himself. Okay, I lost the analogy.
Hold on.
It didn't quite track. Toots got him out of there. That's what's important.
What matters.
That's what's important.
He's a true friend.
All right. Yeah.
Whether or not he's a cab driver really isn't
Yeah, that's
not the
not
point.
super important. But what matters is
I don't know. Maybe it is.
Tatu got home safe. That's what matters. He got home, he drank his water, he's going to bed. Might have a little bit of a headache in the morning after that Ignite, but
Also after the the soul point.
Yeah.
the Baron up as well.
it's rough. It's rough.
A little
We've got
bit.
About 10 seconds here on
Wait
the
up.
Baron. Broken Blade, however, getting caught out a little bit, but he's still not dead. Tatu wants to follow, but he goes straight into the dirt instead. It was all calculated by Broken Blade as G2 now, with the enemy jungler dead for 40 seconds, it's nothing but a green light for Baron.
Yeah, that's a freebie on the Baron. Don't think there's anything that you can do about that as the Broken Blade flank to come through. I think looking to maybe apply side lane pressure, but he calls people or he pulls people over, right? That's all that really matters. This is again going to perfectly set up the Dragon, basically the same time as before, but this time it will lead to a Soul getting picked up, Hextech Soul. If the previous fights weren't really an indication, G2 is very committed to playing this one out by the book. They are not taking any risks. They're not taking any gambles. They are going to very slowly and very steadily just get away. And I think that's understandable, right? Given how game one plays out. If you somehow lose this game, you're gonna mental boom, right? Like that is, that's not something that I think you can generally come back from. Jojo, I think unfortunately is still alive for a little bit.
I don't think that little bit's going to be a whole lot longer, however, as he uses Magnet Storm. Might as well. By the time you're back alive, you'll have it again anyway. Hextech Dragon doing a little bit of damage onto the roster of Furia as Broken Blade goes for the flank yet again. Ayu trying to escape as the Realm Warp gets Toots back to safety, but Broken Blade already has the stasis ready to go to buy enough extra time. Turn it around, guarantee the unstoppable kill there onto Gigo as the piercing arrow. I praised him throughout the whole game, and that's a great example why Hans Sama is not missing on this Varus.
And the B1 picks, back-to-back, end up being huge. It was the Taliyah in game one for Furia. It's the Varus in game two for G2, but obviously Broken Blade having an infinitely better game this time around. The team, they gave him a little bit more help, and he paid them back.
Yeah, Broken Blade here from the front line now. Finally drops. The shutdown goes over to Jojo. It ain't gonna matter. Furia dropping like flies at the steps of their own fountain. G2 come back with a vengeance. And 34 minutes in, they're gonna take their win and tie up this series in game two.
It's a pullback game that I think many of us were expecting after the game one. We still saw some of those trademark moments from Fury, the willingness to go for these fights, but it really did feel like once G2 got control, they never ever gave it up, and the draft really helped them with that. The counter pick this time around didn't really end up mattering too much, and I already talked about the fact that we obviously saw Hans Sama have a great game on the Varus. Also Lebrov, has to be said. A lot more impact on the Alistair. I think a lot of the early game came down to him being in the right place at the right time, finding these side lane plays that really accelerated G2 to the point where Furia just couldn't deal with them.
And I got to give Skewmon the exact same praises.
Yeah.
Very effective on the Maokai early on, affecting both the top lane and the bottom.